Welcome to the Passion Project Revolution, where we explore the highs and lows of creating passion projects. Whether it is a book you have a desire to write, a community service you want to create, a charity you want to set up, or sharing your own passions by teaching others how to do it, be inspired by the stories from people who have been there and done it. You know, everyone has at least one passion project, if not more, within them. It's held within their soul energy. And if, after listening to today's podcast, you want to discover what passion projects lie within your soul, then I invite you to download the Soul Creation Collage Workshop for free and start unlocking the potential within you. You'll find the link in the information section. But for now, sit back and enjoy this inspiring installment of the Passion Project Revolution. Welcome to another episode of the Passion Project Revolution, and I'm so excited to have Amber Harrison with me today. Amber is a toxic relationship and trauma transformation therapist. So she empowers sensitive, spiritual women to safely own their boundaries by healing trauma from past toxic relationships so that they can really reclaim their joy, unleash their wild feminine nature, and trust their intuition to lead a soul-aligned, fulfilling life. Amber, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today. And I wonder if you would like to just start sharing how this idea for your project came about.
Absolute honour to be here, Jane. Thank you so much for having me on the Passion Project. It's a really exciting new podcast, and I'm really honoured to be on, to be a guest. So thank you. So my passion project is healing the sisterhood wound. And it's been quite a journey to get to that point. So although I've really been going for it since November last year, so only about 5 or 6 months, my journey towards healing the sisterhood wound has been decades, really. So it came about after my spiritual awakening in 2020. It wasn't just because of lockdown, but I'd had quite a few years of real difficulties with my daughter who's a teenager, but she was 18 in 2020 and I was 50 in 2020, so big milestones for both of us. And after many years of self-harming, so trigger warnings on this episode, she had a suicide attempt in October 2020, and she's here with us, which I'm very pleased to say. But it rocked both our worlds, obviously, and we went into proper dark night of the soul, otherwise known as a mental breakdown, otherwise known as a spiritual awakening, as I'm sure many of your listeners will know. And I was shocked, I have to say, really shocked about it. And it took me 6 months of hiding at home in my bedroom, journaling like an absolute, thing possessed, really, to understand how I managed to get to that point in my life. And over the next couple of years, really, I suppose, I wanted to heal myself deeply. I'd been through destructive relationships. I'd not managed to have a really sustaining group of female friends throughout my life. I had very little sort of to anchor myself into my life, really, nothing to ground myself. I had no spiritual sort of background or anything. So my parents brought me up with no religion or no spirituality. So which is fine for some people, but for me, I felt myself just sort of flailing about, really, and not really knowing what to do with myself or how to, what it was what was the point of everything, really. And then, so when my daughter had the attempt, I had nothing to cling on to at all. I literally nothing. I just fell into the abyss. There was no, I couldn't kind of, I thought, how would I have recovered had she actually managed this? Had it actually gone through? How would I have recovered from that? And my sort of healing was this guttural wail that came from deep inside, like a sort of howl from all my ancestors, all these women screaming at me, we're here, we're going to look after you. You just have to turn within, stop looking without and look within. So I went on this journey of healing myself, and I connected to my inner goddess, and my daughter did the same as well. So she, bizarrely, we both, well, not bizarrely, but I know now why. It was divine intervention, obviously. But we went on this same path of spiritual awakening together. So we had this amazing reconnection where we'd absolutely lost each other in the years before. And we came together and we both found our goddesses, and we reconnected to all those parts of ourselves that we'd completely neglected. I don't know that she'd ever actually connected to any of them, because as we pass things down through our ancestral lines, it gets more and more sort of filtered, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So I started healing, passed that healing on to her. She started healing. You know, it's been an incredible journey. And part of that journey was me realizing quite how pained I'd been and how wounded I'd been as a child by my peers. So when I was at secondary school, I was bullied by a little group of 6 girls who knew better at the time. You know, they were 11, 12, 13. And I was right for picking on, really. I'd moved from the north to the south. I had this really strong accent. You know, I was floating around all over the place. My parents had divorced, didn't really know what I was doing. So I'd moved from country to city as well, and so disconnected. And I didn't realise it was my disconnection from nature that was causing so much pain, aside from everything else that had changed. But deep down, it was that disconnection from nature. And we mentioned that just before we came on live, didn't we? Talking about how healing it is to be in nature. So I needed to find myself, really. And I'd previously, in my 20s, I'd gone and done a degree in psychology and anthropology, which I absolutely loved. You know, my soul just lit up with that. And there was shamanism in it. And I was so excited. I thought, I'm going to go off and be a shaman. And then my ego said, no, you're not. That's ridiculous. You don't do things like that. That's not sensible. That won't pay a mortgage. You can't do that. So I shut it all down. And I went into the world of admin and paperwork and sort of lost myself in that barren wasteland, really, that really didn't suit my soul at all. And then I had my 2 beautiful children. And then I found myself in being a single parent, not once but twice, so 2 different fathers, 2 destructive relationships. And I wondered what to do next. So I retrained, well, I added to my experience, my qualifications, and became a psychotherapist. Except I didn't. I did the training, but I couldn't do the step forward to actually do that. Again, I was just like, how do I become self-employed? I can't do that. Who am I to do that? I'm not good enough. There's no way. So again, that voice came at me again. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. And it's just been the bane of my life, Jane. This voice in my head. Why can't I do it? But it just went on and on and on. So despite all this, learning, the psychotherapy and the psychology and the anthropology and having the children, and despite all of that and having my own therapy and counselling, I had postnatal depression. I fled one of the relationships in the middle of the night with 2 children. I've had lots and lots of things happen to me. I still wasn't able to find what that piece was that was missing from my life. And then when I had this spiritual awakening, it was, it's to do with women, isn't it? It's to do with women. I took it right back. I had this amazing life coach at the time. And so instead of therapy, I was like, I'm going to have a life coach. And she was running new moon and full moon rituals. So I joined her full moon ceremony online, thinking, not sure if I know what I'm doing with this, really. But thought, go with it. And it was the most healing thing. I just released and I forgave these six girls for the bullying that they'd done, because they knew me better. And this unbelievable weight was lifted from my heart and my shoulders and my head and my whole body. And I felt I could move on. So it was a significant point for me. And I realised from then on that that's the sort of thing I want to do. And I thought, how do I do this? I didn't know then that was called the sisterhood wound. It was just that release of baggage that I'd felt from not being able to connect with that incredible supportiveness that other women can give you. I had no idea that was out there. Absolutely no idea at all. So when this was all lifted from me, I said, that's what I need to do. I need to help other women. I need to coach other women. I need to, therapize other women, whether that's a real word or not, I don't know. And so I started my business. And I've had the pleasure to, help these beautiful women who, the common thread in it is having had very destructive relationships in childhood from significant females, whether that's their sister or their mother or their peers, but significant, or a best friend. Perhaps they've been severely let down by a best friend. And it's this common thread that's run all the way through their life. So they get to their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're struggling because they've been through these destructive relationships, whether that these toxic relationships, whether they're, whether it's with friends or a partner or a manager or a boss, with themselves. they get to this point where they just don't know what they're doing, and the pain is just so prolific. They might be feeling, they might have got to the point where they're sick of the antidepressants, or they're sick of the panic attacks, or and they're just absolutely so low in themselves, they don't know where to go. That's when I come in. So I heal their hearts, I heal the wounds from those childhood those childhood painful experiences, so that then they're released and they can make sense of what's gone on in their life, but then they can move forward with it. It's just the most beautiful thing.
Amazing. What an amazing journey you've been on over the last 4 years. And I also just want to kind of acknowledge and honor the journey that you've been on with your daughter, because as a mother myself, I can really relate to how devastating and heart-wrenching that must have been for you both to have gone through. But what a beautiful experience you had in coming together to connect to your sisterhood, to understand what it means to be a woman, and to heal together. That's so incredibly precious. So thank you so much for sharing that. But it's, yeah, I'm just kind of feeling the waves of the enormity of what you've been through. And one of the things that I would like to just kind of understand a bit more is, because you'd sort of knew that you wanted to do something different all of those years, and there's always that voice saying, you can't do that, you can't do that. How did you manage the transition from paid employment to setting up your own business, or is it you're doing both at the same time? Just
Well, what I
understand
did
that
when
first.
I had my spiritual awakening, it's a great question, thank you, Jane. When I had my spiritual awakening, I couldn't go back to my job. I was a primary school administrator, which is one of the busiest jobs I've ever done in my life. You have to be so many people to so many people. And I didn't feel I could do that anymore. So I had 6 months off, and I launched my business, my self-employed business, and I quickly went through my savings. So within 3 months, I had no money left. Right, well, actually, and I hadn't started making any money in the business. I was still putting feelers out, still building up my audience. So I thought, well, I need to have a part-time job. So, and I still got that part-time job. So I'm a mental health support worker, 1-to-1, 3 days a week, which I love, actually. And it doesn't pay me very much, but it's just the most rewarding thing. So I'm still going on with that, still honoring that while I'm building up my business. And I think also the reason why I did that it wasn't purely a financial thing. It was also because I wanted to build up the business in a way that was right for me. I wasn't able to, at that point, I was stepping out of my masculine, my do. I'd had years of having to be everything to my children. So I was the mum, I was the dad, I was the breadwinner, I was the put them to bed, I was everything. And that contributed to that sort of breakdown for me, because I was just never ever in my feminine, ever. Just I couldn't do it. I couldn't let go. So much in that control and that do and that strategy, and so I just had to let go of that. And I realized quite quickly when I started building my business that it just had to flow. And I would stop giving. I realized I was not going to put any pressure on myself to say, right, in 6 months' time, I will have earned X amount of money. It was more that, I'm going to go with how I feel. I'm going to make sure that the clients I get are soul aligned clients, really, really feel into who it is I'm working with. I have honored myself in that time as well. So in the last 3 years, there are clients I've turned around and said, no, we're not a good fit. Because I want to make sure that I give everything when I'm working with a client, everything. I'm available throughout the whole of that 1-to-1 time. So I've got a 33-day package and I've got a 9-week package. You have access to me throughout that whole time. That's a lot that I give. It has to be the right people that I work with. Otherwise, it's just not, I'm not going to be able to be there for them for that whole time. But that's part of why I love what I do, because I can just invest my heart and soul into this client and help them through this journey. Working with women who've been in toxic relationships, and have that huge level of trauma, they're unsafe. They fundamentally feel unsafe. So my job is to build up that trust and that safety, so that they feel able to be vulnerable and open and get in touch with their feminine. So it's a journey. Their journey is similar to what my journey was. So I've been there. I know it. I've lived it. So I can then help them through. So my passion project, pushing that forward, I said, I don't think I realised it was a sisterhood wound until I'd been in it a couple of years, really. And then I started seeing these threads. But I also decided that I wanted to work with a niche and messaging coach as well, the back end of last year. And that was so exciting to work with her. She drew out everything that my soul wanted to say. And that's where the toxic relationship and trauma transformation therapist came from, because that's what I do. That's what I have experience in, but that's what I have the passion in. And then from that, all my reading around it, I'm such a sucker for absolutely love reading books. And within that, I've realised it's the sisterhood wound that I want to heal. So I now run online women's circles as well, to bring women together, to create that safe space where you can heal and you can be heard and you can be vulnerable and you can explore yourself. You can build your intuition and your self-trust and your self-love within this group of women who are exactly the same as you, probably had very similar experiences, but they've been wounded in some way, and they're hurt and they want to feel safe. And so it's a gentle space to bring women in. That's part of what I want to do as well, is heal these sisters. So I'm also looking at doing something locally soon as well. So doing an in-person circle, which I'm really excited about. So it's really coming together at the moment. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and thank you for sharing, how you are supporting yourself financially in building your business. Because I think sometimes, when you are connected with something that you're so passionate about and you really feel like it's almost like it kind of feels like a religious calling, although it's not religious, but well, it's a spiritual calling, isn't it? You're tapping into the passion that's within your soul. You have to do this, but it doesn't have to be an all or nothing scenario. And my experience, my personal experience, and also the experience I've had with, other people that have had trauma from their past, is that the fear around financial stability is so strong that it can stop you from moving forward to, dipping your toe in and starting what ultimately is going to fulfill you. And, it was one of the things that I found really fascinating in my own journey, was the mirroring of the emotional trauma and also financial trauma. So I had a lot of debt I had to clear, and starting my own business. Well, I got made redundant several times, and then I started my own business, and it's like trying to start your own business from a place of fear, because I've got to pay the bills, I've got to support my family, there's no one else there, who's gonna do it for me. That's something that you have to kind of get over, or get over, you have to work through, alongside. So, doing okay, well, how can I make it work? How can I stop triggering the fear around financial stability, but still work on my passion? And, I can do a part-time job. I can do a part-time job that settles the anxiety around finances, and it frees up the time to focus on your passion project. And like you say, because I think one of the things that we can get caught up in when you're starting a business, and it's coaching, it's like you'll just take any clients, you need the business and things, and ultimately that doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve them. So it's wonderful that when you're able to say, actually, we're not a right fit for each other.
I think that's really critical. The therapists that I've seen personally for different periods in my life, some of them have not been a good fit. And because I've been at such a low point at that time in my life, I've not spoken up. I've not been able to say that. So it's really important to me, when people are getting to know me, and perhaps, looking on my socials and, reading what I say, and, reading my chapter in my book, that they get to understand where it is I'm coming from and who I am, and then work with me. I would always do a chat with somebody before I start working with them. I don't call it a discovery call as such, but it can be a messenger, it can be a text, it can be a voice note, it doesn't have to be a call, but it's just, seeing if we're a good fit. I am spiritual, I own that, I am. And so you're going to be working with oracle cards with me. That's what's going to come in. I'm going to be challenging you to look within I'm going to be asking you to do journaling. I'm going to be asking you, you know, to say affirmations, to be grateful, to do deep breathing exercises, to get yourself out in nature, to do guided meditations. You know, if you're not prepared to do that, I'm not going to be the right therapist for you. So, you know, it's part of all of this, all about this awakening journey. And my passion with the sisterhood wound is opening up to who you really are, and standing there and owning it and being, you know, I am this woman. This is what this is what you'll get with me. If you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. You move on to the next person. But if you want to work with me, this is what you're going to get, you know, and you're going to get that connection to your inner wild. You're going to get that joyfulness back in your life. You're going to get that hope, you know, fulfilled if you work with me. And that's where your passion comes from, isn't it? When you're absolutely soul aligned with what you want to do, and you will do whatever you need to do to get that done, whether it's the part-time job, whether it's 2 part-time jobs, you know, whatever it is you're going to do, whether it's getting out a credit card. I'm not going to say you should do that, but if that helps you to get the one course that's going to help you to get on, you know, why not? You know, take that risk. Part of being an entrepreneur is taking risk as well. And you do have to get to a point where that's okay. You know, and I do a lot of reframing around fear as excitement. A lot of excitement. And I do that dropping in before I make a decision, get out of my head, drop into my heart. What is my heart whispering to me? And you have to be quiet to listen to that, because it's the voice of the soul is quiet. You know, in the heart, that monkey mind, that ego mind shouts at you to keep you safe, you know, all the time. Just get yourself still, you know, drop into that heart, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and really feel into what the answer is to the question you're asking, and whether it feels right. And if it does, and you can do it, that's soul aligned, and then you take action on it immediately. Otherwise somebody else will.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did with this creating this podcast. It was a few weeks ago, and I had this inspiration, and it's like, and I connected. So I call it the truth of you. It's my soul. It's the truth of you within my soul. And when I connect to that, it's like my whole energy lights up, and it's like, I've just got to go with it. I just have to do it. And you know, it's really taken off in terms of, you know, how many people are coming forward wanting to talk. And, you know, I think I shared in the group that I was guided to do some deep cleaning.
And
while I did that deep cleaning,
and what drew me was the name, Jane. You know, the passion project. Well, yes, we're all passionate about something, aren't we? Whether it's, you know, doing a bit of macrame in the evening, or whether it's, you know, walking other people's dogs for a living, or it doesn't really matter what it is, baking cakes for other people or for itself. But, you know, but there's something, isn't there, that everybody's got that they're passionate about. That was what drew me to want to be, you know, a guest on this podcast. Well, I've got passion, I want to share it, and then it's exciting, isn't it?
It is. And because I think, you know, what I've come to understand over the last 4 years is, you know, as globally we've all been going on this amazing journey of transformation, is that, you know, when you deny fulfilling yourself in your passion, that's when you can just feel like you're just going through the motions of life. And so I know that by sharing what other people are doing in terms of making their passion projects a reality, it's going to inspire other people to start taking action. It's like, you know, I'm not saying to everyone, you know, give up your full-time job. No, it's like, how can you fulfill in creating your passion project whilst you are still working and, you know, paying the bills and things? You can do both at the same time. So Amber, can you just share perhaps most sort of significant lesson that you have learned from the last few years in setting up your passion project?
Yes, I can. Yeah, thank you. My most significant lesson was doing that reframe. So instead of being scared of fear, see it as excitement. Because the fear just stops you. And when you're stopped, nobody knows what you can do. Nobody at all. So you're sat at home thinking, well, I've got this and I've got this and I've got that. But if you don't tell anybody because you're scared, nobody's going to be able to benefit from the passion that you've got and the fire that you've got, and that willingness to help other people that you've got. So it's really, you know, doing that reframing from experiencing, from the fear stopping you to the fear exciting you. It's my biggest lesson, really. Just do it. And book it in and then worry about how you're going to do it when you get to it. But book
Exactly.
it in.
Exactly. Yeah. If people want to find out a bit more about what you're doing and how you can support them, what's the best way of them contacting you?
Thank you. Yes, so you can contact me on my Facebook page. So it's Amber Harrison Unleash Your Inner Wild. I'm also on Instagram, so Amber Harrison Therapist. You can go to my website, amberharrison.co.uk. There's a couple of free downloads on there as well. So there's a meditation I've created called Relax and Revitalize. And there's a mini ebook called New to Woo. So it's a beginner's guide to building your spiritual path when you're new to spirituality. There's also a link there to my one-to-one systems as well. So one's called Reclaiming Joy, and that's a 33-day healing package. And the other one is your Soul Aligned Life, which is a 9-week deep dive into healing. So it's not for the faint-hearted. And with both of those packages, I work with heart healing, which is this beautiful new modality that gets right to the core of what's going on with you in those childhood wounds and just heals them beautifully. So you're supported with me throughout the whole package. It's just lovely.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being my guest today. And I look forward to hearing more about how your business develops, how the healing the sisterhood wound develops and flows out. Thank you so much, Amber.
Thank you, Jane. It's been an absolute pleasure and honour. Thank you so much. I really love speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Has this podcast sparked an interest to create your own passion project? Remember, everyone has at least one within them, something that they have a strong desire to create or deliver, not always for profit, but for the sheer love of it. Your soul was designed in this way to help you find fulfillment in community energy. Sadly, what happens to many people is they get so caught up in survival, they forget why they chose to become physical in this time and space. But when you discover what passion projects lie within your soul, it triggers a massive uplift and a flow to inspiring energy. Basically, it feels really good and exciting, and you'll feel the momentum to take action, to create your own passion project. So if you're ready to start, have a look at all the ways that I can support you at www.thejanejackson.com. And here's one final thought to leave you with. When you create your own passion project, you are sharing love with the world around you, and that energy of love comes back to you to generate more flows to good energy and ultimate happiness for all.